Ri perile bakokwane. Greetings from Musoni, Ntokulo wabangoni Nivandao. Welcome to AI, Ancestral Intelligence with Musoni. Since it's Heritage Month in South Africa, and people are in the mood and the mode, I'll be sharing. Some of us are not in the mood and the mode. We are always in the mood and the mood. We live our heritage every day. So today I want to share my journey, a summary of my journey of healing through the alkaline way of life. But before I begin, I'd like to make a disclaimer that this is not medical advice. I'm not a medical practitioner. For any medical advice, seek consultation with your physician, your medical doctor, your professional medical professional. This is just for information and entertainment purposes only. Do not make changes to your prescriptions or any medicines that you're taking without first consulting your doctor. Thank you. So my journey began with me seeing this video of Dr. Sebi talking about hybrid foods such as broccoli and cauliflower and electrical foods that are natural and can be found in the forest.
All right. So what's wrong with broccoli?
I was batting 1,000.
Here. What's wrong with broccoli, Baba?
I'll get it for you. You want me to record you?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on.
Tell me about broccoli, Baba.
Broccoli, being that is hybrid, unnatural, incomplete molecular structure,
Okay.
it should not be consumed by humans because the molecular structure is incomplete. It's an acid-based vegetable.
Okay.
If broccoli was made by nature, I would be eating it. But there are other products that aren't made by nature, but they are not poisonous as broccoli. Okra is one. Spinach is another.
What about cauliflower?
Oh, that mother gonna rob you of your minerals. Cauliflower has nothing in it. That's why it is white. It has no carbon. No carbon. So, cauliflower is worse than broccoli. I don't even think of cauliflower.
Now, as far as nuts, pecan is not on your list, and they make a lot of pecan in the South. Is pecan a good nut to eat?
Pecan is an unnatural nut. The only natural nut is that walnut.
Okay, I hope I answered y'all questions for y'all, because
I have a question. So you had almonds on the list, but you took almonds off.
The almond?
Yeah.
I used to recommend almond when I was in my crazy state very early in my practice. And when I found out that almond milk has cyanide, I discontinued that.
So no almond milk?
No.
I saw that video end of 2016, downloaded all his lecture videos, and 2017. After sitting down with a pen and a paper, watching all his lecture videos, I started looking for the herbs, and the very first herb I bought was sarsaparilla on the 18th of January 2017. And since then, I had made a lot of adjustments to my eating habits and eliminated a lot of the things immediately, eliminated broccoli and cauliflower and other things that I was made to believe they were good for you. And now the most critical part. How do you know if something is working? If you're doing something, how do you know it's working? I've heard people ask me, so when you eat this fruit or this herb, do you feel it working? You know, it's like, like if you eat an apple, do you feel it working? Do you feel the vitamin A going into your cells? You know, I mean, the only or rather, it's not the only way. Sometimes you can feel differences depending on what your body was going through. But ultimately, the best way to verify is to actually do tests before and after. We live in a world where everything is tested. Food is tested in the laboratories, and there's even cars and car seat belts. Everything gets tested for integrity to see that it does what it says it does. Fortunately for me, when I started my journey, I discovered a homeopath. I'd never known of a homeopath before, and I visited one, and I did my very first body sonic scan in January of 2018 or 17. I can't remember. I think 17, yes. And so today I'm just going to share a little bit of the before and after to show from 2017 up until today what the progress report says. Is this lifestyle that I've been leading really working or not? The proof is in the pudding. The first set of test results I want to share with you guys is a cardiovascular and cerebrovascular data analysis. So we're not going to look at everything, but if you look at blood viscosity, it was quite on the high side, and this was on the 25th of January 2017. I was 38 years old. Now let's fast forward into the future, and these are results from my very last test, which I did on my 44th birthday. It shows 43 there. The machine was still updating. Apparently it shows the following day, and my blood viscosity was down from 72 to 52. So for that to happen, the homeopath had recommended various things for me to do. So one of them was me taking ginger. Ginger is a blood thinner, as well as cayenne pepper, uncooked, preferably, because you get more of the benefits from it. And so the importance of blood viscosity being within between 48 and 65 is that when your blood is too thin, you will not be able to form a clot. So for example, if you get a wound, you get cut or anything, you will not stop bleeding because your blood will fail to clot. So you need your blood to clot when it needs to clot. However, when it's on the thicker side, and when it's too thick, then it starts forming clots inside without any wounds, and these clots can be very dangerous. They can block your artery, and you can instantly collapse. So we can see the first improvement right there. Now let's look at one very important factor. I do not have my results from my 2017 test for the liver specifically. However, I do have results from my 2019 test. And when you look at my detoxification function, it was moderately abnormal at 0.075, and the minimum should be 0.2. And when we compare that to my July test, the detoxification function was way above the minimum of 0.2. It was at 0.67. Obviously, all of the other factors are important, but I'm focusing on detoxification function because the function of the liver is to detoxify your system, the human body. Most people, when they think of the liver, they think of alcohol because it's a common poison that people voluntarily take into their bodies, and so the liver has that function to eliminate poisons, basically, or toxins. And the famous one is alcohol, obviously. But then the other factor that people might not be aware of, a lot of people are not aware of, is the fact that the liver needs to detoxify itself as well. And so this part shows the liver's health state or its ability to detoxify itself. And the liver is a very important organ which does more than just detoxifying your body. It regulates the hormones in the body. So when we speak of hormonal imbalance, mental health, that is the issue of the liver. So if you're going to talk about taking control of your mind, taking control of your thinking and your emotions, and having determination, it all boils down to the liver, because a lot of people, because of a toxic liver, they find themselves slaves to a lot of toxic, to the toxic lifestyle, to the junk food and the alcohol and everything. And it becomes a vicious cycle where, because of hormonal imbalance, to feel good, your body kind of gets you to go and consume these toxins to feel good temporarily, which makes your liver worse, and so the cycle continues like that. So I could go on and on about the importance of the liver in one's personal life, and even beyond that, even into what we call our revolutionary lives, or our lives in the revolution, because the liver is the center of our appetites, our drives at the end of the day. And so it doesn't matter how much information you can receive, but if your drive is opposed to the information cannot override your drive at the end of the day. If you are a slave to European goods, if you are a slave to Arab goods, you remain a mental slave, because the center of your drive and your appetites, your thoughts, is the liver. The liver is what drives you. I remember when recently with the Russia-Ukraine war, when Heineken, as part of the sanctions, decided to pull out of Russia. And I thought about what kind of impact that would have on our people if all these European alcohol brands, which they are so addicted to, we have witnessed it during the COVID lockdown, when these were banned, or rather their sales were banned, and when they were reopened, people went really crazy, like a diabetic person who needs the insulin shot. They went outside and stood in long queues for hours for products that are created by their enemies, products that destroy their liver at the end of the day, products that destroy our communities. And yes, most of you are not ready to hear this, because most of our people are not ready for the revolution. When they think of the revolution, they think of some riot and some protest and revolting and all of that. But all of that is a very small part of what we call the revolution, because at the end of the day, all of that is meant to conscientize the people that they need to make a stand. But now when you need to make a stand, it is a personal sacrifice. It is a sacrifice you need to teach your children, you need to make in the home. And at the end of the day, even long before we even talk about colonialism and slavery, the first law of the universe is self-preservation. And if you cannot obey the laws of the universe, you remain conquered. The people who are dominant in the universe. Our ancestors were the most powerful people on earth for the longest time, for thousands of years, because they were aligned to the laws of the universe, and that is what you call spirituality. It is not some spooky stuff. So to be aligned to the laws of the universe means you align to the law of self-preservation, and when you align to the law of self-preservation, you are not going to self-destruct. You are not going to continue to consume things that are destructive to your DNA, that break down your DNA, that leads your offspring to inherit diseases and health complications that they're gonna have to struggle with throughout their lives, and all of that takes away their energy, which they should be focusing on dynasty, because at the end of the day, civilizations, empires are built on dynasty. In one of the most important threads I've ever made on Twitter, titled "What Africans Got for Their Slaves," here I am breaking down how Africa was actually given or taken. Because contrary to popular belief, it had nothing to do with superior weaponry or because Europeans had guns. And that is a myth that I've debated and proved. And if anybody still thinks they can prove it to be correct or undebunk it, if there's such a word, just give us historical references where we've lost to Europeans on the battlefield. Just mention a few and let's see if such actually exist. And don't mention one. You need to at least, the continent of Africa is large. You need to at least give us 10 accounts. Or what the hell, we can reduce it to 5. But the reality is, we gave our power to the enemy because of our appetites. This is the story of Samson. I've got a series on my YouTube channel titled Samson, the Biblical Allegory of Black Masculinity Lost, where I'm breaking down how Samson is actually a symbol of a feminine black man. He's very muscular and very strong, but he lacks self-control. His appetites for the products of the enemy make him a subject of the enemy, even though he's stronger than them. And so this is one of the examples of the things that we sold our brothers and sisters to the Europeans for. Alcohol, brandy, beer, etc. On the Gold Coast in the 18th century, New Englanders bought men for as little as 90 gallons of rum each in 1759, and as much as 230, 1774, and women for as little as 66 gallons, 1768 to 69, and as much as 180. This is a sign of a people who have lost their spiritual power. And when we lost our spiritual power, that's when we became slaves. We were never slaves, but when we lost our spiritual power, and that began with the coming in of Islam through the Umayyad conquest of the Arabs. Because the Umayyad conquest of the Arabs coming into Africa, one of the things they changed is that we started adopting, that's when we really started adopting foreign behavior, foreign diets, which started altering our DNA and weakening us. And also, continuing on the topic of the liver and diet, we must remember that, so prior to this, I had done a few videos talking about decolonizing your colon. Colonialism, the word colonialism, the first 4 letters of the word is colon. And what you'll notice is that when you go into any spiritual or religious movement, be it historical or recent, the one commonality that you'll find within the movements is a diet, a prescribed diet. Whether you go into Christianity, Judaism, Islam, or Hinduism, or Buddhism, or there is always a prescribed diet to the disciples of that movement. And because colonialism in Africa came as a spiritual movement and not a military campaign, how they colonized us is they first colonized our colon. And we became clones. We started thinking like them because you are what you eat. We started eating foods that are not consistent with our genetic makeup. And so that weakened us spiritually and also physically. And so to truly emancipate oneself from mental slavery, one has to decolonize a colon and detoxify the liver and go back to the diet of our ancestors, because at the end of the day, our ancestors' diet was not just physical. It was linked to our spirituality, and even people of a higher spiritual ranking had their own specific diet, which was more stringent than that of the ordinary disciples. Having said that, you realize now that I cannot overemphasize how this subject is at the center of African liberation in every way, because a person with a toxic liver, they are not driven by self-preservation. They are driven by the opposite. They're driven by a sense of relief, because there are many hormones in their body that are no longer, their organs are not functioning properly. So the secretion of various hormones it does not happen as it should. And so to deal with the stress, and not just mental stress, but also oxidative stress, which is caused by all the toxins that are in the body, making the body causing a lot of inflammation and discomfort in the body. And so for temporary relief, you go to the very same things that are causing these problems for a temporal relief. And a person who lacks the discipline for self-preservation cannot be trusted with a mission to preserve their family, and even beyond that, to preserve their community, their nation, and eventually their race. Because this person can be bought for their appetites, for things that have no value. They have no value in the sense of the cultural value, value in terms of self-preservation, value in terms of the community, or the goal, or the common destiny of a people. But these people are driven by their selfish appetites, and it is because their liver is very toxic. So trusting the movement or the revolution to a person who has not gone through the decolonizing of their colon and cleansing and going through a process of discipline and detoxification is basically like trusting your finances with a junkie. It's not that the junkie is inherently a bad person, but their appetites and their drives do not allow them to do what they may have intended to do. They might have intentions to do the right thing, but when it comes to the action, they fail. Their appetites and drives fail them. That is how the continent of Africa continues up until 2023 to be sold to the highest bidder. And so people need to understand that we cannot blame a particular politician or a particular royal member, a family of a member of the royal family, excuse me. But we need to look at this as a collective, because we all need to look in the mirror as ordinary people. What about yourself? Are you in a position to stand and represent and take action that is going to have a positive impact in the future of your family, of your descendants, and your nation? Because at the end of the day, we must remember that our lifestyle today is what our children inherit. So if you cannot make a sacrifice for your own children, how can you be trusted to make a sacrifice for the nation? I mean, all the political sellout puppets out there in Africa, we all know that all their actions actually do not serve their lineage at all, because there is no sustainability in their greed, and the things that they obtain now will not be there for 3 generations to come. And so, like I said, I could go on and on. So let's go to the next part of the report. It's a very comprehensive report, so I'm not going to share everything. I'm merely going to just give examples just to show and break down the importance of the results, and also show that there is progress at the end of the day. And this one, also from 2017, is from a male sexual function, testosterone. Testosterone, yeah, they're a very important hormone in males, and the other one is gonadotropin, which is very critical for reproduction and also for the development of your male sexual organs. And erection transmitter, these were quite low. You'll see there testosterone, it was like 1.5, and the minimum should be 3.3, so it was bad, and there was 38. Fast forward to 2019, I was 39 years old, just before my 40th birthday, a few days, and my testosterone had come to a normal level. It was above the minimum from 1.5 to 4.077, and the gonadotropin remained normal. Erection transmitter also within a good range between the minimum and the maximum. And then the latest test result, testosterone also a little bit higher than my 2019, way above the 2017 test results, and including my gonadotropin was almost, basically, I think, yes, double what it was in 2019. Erection transmitter still in a good range. So these also speak to self-preservation, because reproduction is all about self-preservation at the end of the day. And the reason why I'm showing this one is important because testosterone is supposed to drop with age, but where the rate of deterioration is determined by your lifestyle, of course. And so because I deteriorated because of eating what was supposed to be healthy. And trust me, a lot of people used to say, hey, you eat healthy, at the time when I was eating my broccolis and cauliflowers and all that stuff. But as you can see here, it has gone up and not down. So at a later age, it is higher than when I was younger. And then looking at my prostate, the last what's this? Let's start with degree of prostatic hyperplasia. It was mildly abnormal. Degree of prostatic calcification, moderately abnormal. And then prostatitis, excuse my pronunciation, was severely abnormal. That was in 2019. Fast forward into 2023, and my the results have significantly improved at an older age. My prostasis syndrome has significantly reduced towards the normal. It's not perfect there yet, but it's not that bad. It's quite close to the minimum, the range, the normal range. So the last two, including the degree of prostatic calcification, has significantly dropped, and the degree of prostatic hyperplasia dropped a little bit. So we can see the progress. So people, you can see that when you see the results, when you see the progress, it becomes very easy to remain consistent and continue in the journey, because you can see the results, and so it motivates you. But if you don't, then that's why I always recommend to my friends to go for the test before they start their journey. There's a lot of people, I've actually had been sharing this information on Facebook a few years back when I started discovering the information, because that's how I am. When I find knowledge, I want to share it with the people. I don't want to die alone if the stuff kills me. I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's how I am. When I benefit from something, I like to share it with people. And so when I see people taking action as well, it gives me joy. And I've got a WhatsApp group which came about from me sharing the information on Facebook. People started inboxing me and asking me questions, and so I decided, let me just have the WhatsApp group and let's share the information. So I've kept it small because I want people that are going to take action, not people that are just going to be spectators and spies. So yeah, this is how it's done. As you can see, the report is not perfect, but you can see significant improvements. And I don't think it could ever be perfect when one lives in the city with all the chemicals around in the air and everything that, you know what I'm talking about. And so ideally, if we lived in the forest, we would have the ideal results, which are perfect. And so, but it's all about doing the best with what you can do where you are. Instead of having a mentality of, oh, what the hell, they put this in the food, this in the air, so, well, we all gonna die. It's not about dying. It's about the quality of life. It's about eating to love and not loving to eat. So just to reiterate again, loving to eat means loving to consume. So when you love to consume everything, that is a character of a pig. And so why I say that's a character of a pig, as African people, we have totems that are mainly linked to animal traits, to animals. And for example, you have Vakwena, who are crocodiles, Bataung, which are lions, etc., etc. The reason why these are linked to animals is because it is basically linked to the zodiac and the horoscopes. This is the origin before you ever had horoscopes. But the difference is these are linked to, in Africa, we had not really been using it for individuals, but we identified it for a group, a family. family traits. So, and you find with certain, having mentioned that with certain clans, they don't eat certain things because of knowing themselves. Knowledge of self. This is where knowledge of self comes in. You need to know how your body functions. You need to know, be aware of your cycles. Just like a woman when she's going through her cycle, a monthly cycle, they generally become aware of the fact that their moods change and they feel otherwise. And being aware of that helps them to navigate around it and not lose their minds thinking something is wrong with them. So this is where knowledge of self really means something. It's not just talk. Like I said, you can receive all the information, but without application or without putting in the work or regeneration within yourself, that information is not going to do much, because your passions and your drives at the end of the day are what controls you. And so when we begin to eat to love instead of loving to eat to love means to eat to love yourself. And when you eat to love yourself, because you realize when you start decolonizing your colon and detoxifying your colon, you start loving yourself more. There are certain things that taste nice, but because of the love you have for yourself, you will not put those things in your body because you love yourself that much. So just like if we give a general, that's why I tell people that those who blame nyaupe boys in the streets, nyaupe is a street drug for people that stay in the streets, or your street children, hobos and whatnot. So like a cheap drug. So people tend to call them nyaupe boys and whatnot. So I tell people they are not so different from your middle class, because your black middle class is also they are higher grade nyaupe, which is the Heinekens and the Hennessy's and all the other stuff that is that they are so addicted to, the snacks that people put into their bodies, the junk food, and people know that they don't eat these things because they enjoy them. They are addicted to them. They're addicted to the sauces. I've explained this in a previous video that I have on my YouTube channel, that when you eat that burger from your favorite burger place, it's not the best burger you've eaten, but the sauces that they put in there have chemicals that trigger your system to want you to go back, but you are unaware of that because you lack self-awareness and knowledge of self, because you are not a spiritual person. Being spiritual, what we consume is linked to our spirituality at the end of the day. So from me, Musoni, let us eat to love and not love to eat, so that in this movement and this revolution, we can create a generation that cannot be bought by any material thing, any consumable out there. And that's a generation that can put a stand and take over Africa. Not the coups that people are so excited about. Those are cool. Those signal a change, a shifting of some sort, but it's only an introduction. They're not gonna make any real change. The real change is what we are going to do as individuals. The revolution is here, and the revolution is personal. Peace and African power. Oh, by the way, those are the words of one of my favorite rappers, Talib Kweli.